Hi Manoj.
Hey, Luis. I'll. I don't know. I don't see anybody here. Yet. Let
Oh,
me
we
ping the group again.
yeah, no worries.
I did already in the around 5 o'clock. Uh, Let me do that again. Yeah.
No worries. Okay, I think we're 5 minutes in. Thanks for joining, Shaila. Shaila, if you have any questions, anything you want to talk about, any
Thank you.
topics, pick your brain.
Yeah, I mean, I did not get a chance to actually go through that after the weekend, being busy with other things.
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, no worries.
Quick question on Langsmith one, Louis.
Yes.
So usually we do it on Collab, right? Is there any reason that you didn't use the cursor for this?
So you can use example like Colab is good if you're going to use something that use GPUs or if you don't have a good computer. But I typically do my own coding on VS Code or Cursor, doesn't matter. And simply what we're doing is we're calling API calls. We're calling an API from LLM, we're calling an API as that. So when you run it on Python, it's really simple just to run. It doesn't take a lot of resources. So you can interchange it. We can run the same code in Google Colab. I just find it sometimes a little easier for environment variables to be read locally versus in Google Colab. But again, because we're going to intermediate now, I sort of want to help people move away from, okay, Google Colab's like a good start and a good way to go there. But think about how you want to write code and keep code on your computer and think of a good IDE that's good for you, whether it be VS Code, Cursor, or whatever you want to use. And then you simply just open up workspaces, save everything in your workspace, and then get in the habit of then everything you're doing can get saved to a GitHub so other people can copy it or other people can use it. And that's really best practice for typical coding exercises.
Okay, yeah. I was trying to, I mean, by default, I tried using Colab, but it was giving different errors. So again, I
Okay.
took cursor and I was
Mhm.
trying to use a virtual environment using the cursor thing. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I did little bit of setup, but didn't gone through, much.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
have to do more. Yeah.
There shouldn't be that a lot of like when you run something locally,
Uh-huh.
just have to install the right packages or else it won't work, right? So you have the right Python version 3.11 or 3.212, whatever version you have. And
Right.
then if you're gonna use the notebook, you need to install Google Generative AI and make sure you install the right packages for it to run. Because then that's the only difference. Because Google Colab comes with it's already pre-built with like 100 packages. So you could probably run it in Google Colab and you might not get a lot of errors. But when you run it locally, you have to install all the packages that you would need for it to run.
Yeah, right. Okay, thanks.
So yeah, once you install that, it should be good to go and run. If you run into issues, we can troubleshoot. No one else is on here today, so it's all
Yeah,
times private tutoring.
yeah. Okay, Luis, I will let you know.
No
Thank you.
worries. All right. Hmm.
Luis, if I know that not many people were on the call today, so I mean, you went through that example, right? The demo thing on Saturday. Um, that was a little bit fast, that evaluating the agent. So if there are no other questions, can you just go through that?
Sure. Let me see. Which one do you want me to look at?
It says evaluate agent. That was the one that you did on Saturday.
Langsmith one, Sridhar? Yes.
Uh,
There
yeah,
were two. I think there were two. But yeah.
it says 1 minute. Isn't it evaluate agent that we did on? It. I mean, the name of the file says evaluate agent, but I can take a look at it to see.
Yeah, because then I'll bring up the right one.
Let me see that if I. Yeah, it says copy of evaluate agent. That's the one that you have loaded to the chat. Isn't that the one that we did on Saturday?
So on Saturday, I did two. One showing OpenAI in Phoenix, showing how to run it, show evaluations, and run it through Google Colab. And then I ran another
Yeah,
one.
that was the name of the file I was talking about. It says evaluate agent. I think it is the Phoenix one. Yeah, it says Phoenix on the top.
Okay, let me just pull that one up. Okay, so I'll share my screen. Oh, Manoj will let me share my screen again. Oh, Manoj, if you're there. Hey, Manoj just went for a drink of water. I can't share my screen. Let's go to the options. Let me just message him.
So Manoj is controlling the screen or something?
Yeah, the Manoj has the admin access. So he usually delegates to me, but I think I have to message not to give me delegation. Let's see. Yeah. So well, meanwhile, this is happening, and hopefully Manoj sees my message soon. Um, Going back to the Phoenix, the difference between this one, I think I explained on Monday, is that this one's going to use Open
Hey,
AI.
sorry. Hey, Louis, sorry.
No
I
worries, no worries.
was. Did you ask for permissions? I did not get an request.
Yeah, the sharing's not turned on.
No, share. I'm a. It looks like. Yeah, can you click on the share and ask for permissions?
It doesn't give me an option to do that.
Okay, let me make you the host. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I made you the host. You should be able to do it now.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Should be good. So yeah, so this one with Phoenix, I said Phoenix works really closely with OpenAI. Yes, you can do it with other ones like Google, things like that as well, but it takes a lot of workaround to do. So for simplicity, like I said, like I talked about in Saturday in the class, you can go to OpenAI and get an API key from them. If you enable share your data with them, and of course, if you're only using it for studying, you're not using it for any like copywritten code or your company's information, you can click allow to share, and it gives you up to 200,000 tokens per day to use free. So although you put $5 in, that $5 could last you 6, 7 months on their API token if you're not using it that way as well. So you need to get the OpenAI token, and you need to get the Phoenix API key. So that was on Saturday, I gave everyone the link to go to Phoenix, how to get an API key. So I won't repeat that right now because again, this is the part, but again, you can watch the video of the links I give out, how to do step by step to get an API key from Phoenix and how to get an API key from OpenAI. So you can always go back and watch that. But those are the two main parts of this thing. Once you have those two API keys, you simply just go now code by code of installing the packages that you need and importing the packages that we'll be using during the whole time we're working on it. So as you can see here, we're going to be importing our OpenAI API key in our ChatGPT 5 Mini. And we created a project name. You can click here to sign up for a free instance of Phoenix Cloud here. You can click on that. Get your API key. That's it. And one point was when you go to Phoenix Cloud, you have to change the name to your endpoint. And again, I showed that during the video. When you click on Phoenix Cloud, it'll show you, do you want to create a new project? Yes, here's how to create a new project. Here is your endpoint. And it'll say this, this, this. If it's yours, it would show, it could be someone else, it could show Shyla's -v1 traces, right? It would show your name here. So you always have to make sure you have to modify this for this to show up in your tracing. And then just make sure you get the key in there. So when that runs, you're good to go. This bottom here is to ensure that if you did everything right, when you run it, you get no errors. So you should have everything good and no errors will pop up. If you have something that you didn't put the right key in, you didn't put the right endpoint in, this is where you would see that error come through. So this one shows you a quick demo of building an agent that can talk to its data in the sense that it's able to look at a table, run a SQL query, extract it, analyze it, and then graph it. So this agent will have three abilities to do this, right? So the first one is to create your first tool. And this was something that was very interesting in someone brought up in class that we talked about was like, why do we have to do tools? Why can't we just tell an LLM to do everything at once and give it everything that we have? And why do we break it up in different sections? To me, is it is like this is like adding more context, adding more bloatware, and your LLM doesn't need this. So one thing I just told them is that it's true in the sense that you're adding more prompts, you're adding more steps, but you're not giving the LLM more tokens to consume because if the LLM knows that it has this tool and it has this definition, it's only going to use one tool and read that one tool. But if you're giving all the tools to the LLM and all the rules belonging to all the tools, that will consume your input consumption of the LLM. So therefore, you're actually spending more tokens having the model read and understand what each tool does without it needing to understand what each tool does. So again, this is why we break it into separate tools. So then the model knows, oh, I only need to do a lookup. I only use tool one. What can tool one do? Boom. Then I'll do what tool one has instead of saying, oh, I need to do tool one. Okay, let me read what tool two has and let me read what tool three has, then decide what I want to do. That will burn a lot of tokens. So this is why we sort of have them separately. So first is your first tool, which has your own LLM, and which its job is to generate a SQL query based on a prompt, and do not reply anything with a SQL query, and tells you how to do the prompt. And the whole thing that we're trying to show here is that we're enable tracing. So when we import our package from Phoenix, from ephoenix.eotl, it pretty much already creates a large code for us that we can simply just all we have to do is enable this function, tracer.tool. And we're going to put this on top of any function that we want the model to look back. So imagine this like telemetry. Think of this as capturing metrics for Datadog, etc., different areas, and where you need to capture what the model is doing at certain points, right? So this is what that tracer tool does. It looks at certain points where you put it. So you can put a tracer tool at this function. You can put a tracer tool at this function up here. So any single time that this function is called, it will show up in your traces. And it'll show you the time it took to complete, if it was successful, it was not successful. And that's what tracing is. And this is what you need to do and have when you start debugging an agent. Because you need to understand what aspect did it fail in, what aspect did it fall in, which tool did it fall through, was it able to be grabbed, did it make information up, or was it actually pulling from your source, right? So all this debugging needs to be done while developing an agent. So this is why tracing is super important. As your AI engineer and AI developer, you need to understand and sort of debug what to do and how to fix what's going on. So when you have something like this, all you can do now is simply just ask a question. Show me all the sales for store 1320 on November 1st, 2021. So what this does is, because we're making a prompt that says generate a SQL query, and we're telling it all the store names and all the functions, it's able to generate a SQL query and then extract information and pull that information and give it to you, without you explicitly telling, hey, this is how you should write a SQL query, or hey, this is what the columns are in the table, or hey, this is what this is. No, you can simply just talk to your data. Show me what's happening for these stores November 1st, 2021. The model will develop the SQL code for you and extract that information. So typically, when you ask an LLM one question, this is what you get. You simply just get one response back. So what is the difference between using an agent is then it can perpetuate this information to the next tool and then to the next tool and finally get the analysis and things you need. So this example of running one tool, that database lookup, the next one is your data visualization. If you wanted to visualize the data, generate a chart configuration based off this data, the goal is to show this. So again, now we're developing a prompt that's being traced by our tracing tool up here that will generate a chart. And we're doing it using Python packages. We're going to create a chart, write a Python code to create a chart based on the following configurations. So remember, we're not going to be having the LLM sort of hallucinate and sort of generate an image. We don't want that. We wanted to extract information from that database, then understanding that, hey, I can use Python to do data extraction to get information out, and then use Python to use the line models, the graph models, and use the pre-packages that it already has to sort of develop an accurate chart. Because
what Python package is used here for the chart? Do we have to specify that to the LLM explicitly, or?
Yeah, so you need to tell the functions of how to create a chart. So these functions, create chart, extract chart, everything like that, should be coming from a package that you import from the top.
Okay.
So I think this one we have matplot library for this one, but I think it's already built in inside this package is here.
So that function is written by you, that one, that map thing.
Yeah, matplot library is not written by me. It's a package from
No,
Python.
no. The function at the bottom, like
Function at the bottom, yeah.
yeah.
So we just call the tool and use it. Say, hey, if you're gonna create you're gonna create a graph, make me a chart. Give me x-axis, get the y-axis, get a title, and give the data. So once the model knows, hey, I can grab that from this, I can put this in here, and then it will write a Python code based off this information and the data type, then to send to create a Python code that can then be ran and visualize a data, right? So all you simply write is for the tool, create a line chart of sales over each day in November. So when you run this, this will then generate a Python file that will show import matplot libraries. Here's the x-axis, here's the y information, and here's the data that we pulled from tool one to sort of create this. So this is how we're creating agentic frameworks where the LLM doesn't just stop answering one question. It's going to use that information and then proceed and call other tools to continue to produce the things that you're looking for. So again, there is going to be some restrictions we wanted to do. This one's a code just saying we're going to restrict which environment variables we want. Let them know that length is length, range is range, min and max, max float is float, list, dictionary. We're restricting to only use matplotlib libraries. We're going to use pandas to hold the data table for us, NumPy to understand the numbers, and if needed, Seaborn to help us visualize anything else that's needed. So all of these are different Python packages that we're telling it to use, and to only use these type of functionalities when you're building your graphs. So next part of it is, okay, we extracted the data, we're showing the image. Next, I want you to analyze the data now. Now that you have the information, pulling that, the third tool I want this agent to do is to analyze. So analyze the following data. Your job is to answer the following question, which is in the prompt, right? So what is the most popular product SKU? So this question requires really an analyst, right? Before you like a manager would say, well, send this to their BA, like, can you tell me what's the most popular SKU that's happening for this month, right? Give me a report, give me this, give me that. And then someone has to go in the background, run the SQL, check the functions, export it out to Excel. Then from Excel, import line graph, input the title, input the name, input this, and then write a paragraph to their boss by putting it, okay, here's the report you're looking for. Here's the most popular SKUs. I was able to extract it. I was able to visualize it in Excel, and here's what's happening. So that would take you what? You're like, okay, I'll get that report in like 2 hours. But now you can get that report in less than 10 seconds. You can simply say, well, what's the most popular SKU that's happening right now? And you simply just verbalize it. The model will then need to run a SQL function to look up SKU by count, have it that way, and then if you want a graph with it, you can do a graph, but it could able then, after pulling the information from SQL, analyze the data that you're pulling in from the data, and then give the response out. So the most popular SKU is 619050. It sold 5 units for 21, and the highest quantity in the table, highest quantity sold in the table. So you're giving it all these different options, right? So again, this is how powerful agents are. You're really giving them, really giving yourself options to really optimize your time. So I'll pause there on the data tools. I can't do this in class, but in order to run this, you need an orchestrator, but we'll get to that next. So any questions on the tools that the LLM will be starting to look at and use?
Yeah, thanks. That helps. Thank you.
So in order for your LLM to understand what tools it has, you have to create a schema to have it know what these tools are. And this is the difference of having the token context, because I'm not going to give this whole function and tell it to read all these 3 functions every single time a user has a question. That will take too much tokens. And again, so what do? We simply give it a schema of, here's a function, here's the name of the function, here's a description, and then what it can do. So analyze sales data. You can analyze sales data. It looks up the sales data.
Is it some kind of a standard schema here, this one?
Yeah, so this is a typical schema that you give, like example, tools equal to, and again, you're just like a JSON schema, right? Um, again, it doesn't have to follow this exact schema, but this is an example of a tool function or a tool schema that can be followed.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be, this is the template for every single time you have this. This is just one example of a template. You can make this even numbered. Tool 1 is this, tool 2 is this, tool 3 is this. But I find that if you were to write in JSON format, the model understands structured data a lot better than free flow text. So again, you're just telling it all the different tools and functions it has, and then you make a function from it. So if you want to implement your tools, here's the 3 functions that you can run. Look up sales data, analyze sales data, or generate visualization. So if it says, okay, I want to run generate visualization, it can go to our tool mapping and know that it's going to use this function to run. So that doesn't have to understand the prompting behind it. It doesn't have to read the LLM that's sort of running. Again, you're trying to minimize as much tokens you want as well, as long as the model is able to then decide and able to choose what is the right logic. So now that you sort of defined all your tools, you've given the schema, and you implemented all those. The next is to tell the main router how to handle these how to handle these tools. So again, you're making another function for your main router now. Now you already done everything else, you already done your tools. Let's go back to the main router that needs to understand what's happening. So again, we're tracing it. We want to make sure that we could understand why it's going to use this function. Span is how long it's going to run for. How long do you want the agent to run? What kind of is an agent? What happens if it doesn't return a proper value? Make sure everything's okay. So then we have a tracer here. This one's we're just checking the instances. And this is the main router, and this is the main router message. So again, we're giving the system prompt now to the main orchestrator. That says you're a Huffle assistant that can answer questions about store, sales, price, elasticity, promotion data set. So we're giving it specific information. See here that we're not putting in here, the table has this name, here's the column headers, here's this column information. We're sort of just giving it its main objective. And you can change this to be better. You're a business analyst. You can be, and you're a quality analyst that knows SQL. You can change the roles to be more refined in your orchestrator. But again, this again goes back to you. If you're noticing that your model is not choosing the right tools, you either go back to your main orchestrator, like, well, what prompt did I put in that it can't choose that right response? So you go back and you double check and you find out, okay, this one, oh, this is what happened. Oh no, this is what happened. So you go back and you refine your prompts till you get something better. So now that you sort of set up your information, set up your chain, you run the agent. So create a line chart showing sales in 2021. So this needs to run two tools, right? The first tool is to run a SQL function that pulls up sales in 2021. And two, you need to create a function that will need to run those. We know for sure that this model needs to run those two. Yeah, Swami, you had a question?
Yeah, actually, I have a question not on this topic. It is a general question. Is it okay to ask, or shall I wait?
Oh, just let me finish here, and then we
Okay,
can. I'm almost done. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So again, when you run those two functions, you should see that it should run the SQL function that we saw before, which we're retrieving the function. It's running the agent. It's starting the running time. It's processing the tools. It sees it can create the function. This is, I created a code to produce a line chart of 2020 monthly sales. It only contains 2 months, so the chart will show these 2 points. So then you can see it sort of reasoning of the information of it's able to do. Then it created a Python function for you just to copy in and sort of plot your information of how that information should look like. So then the model says, if you want, export the file, I can modify the code to save it, sales for the 2020 year, modify and adjust, etc., etc. So the model here is actually getting smarter. But the whole point of today's lesson, that Saturday's lesson, isn't about how to create multiple line agents. Like I said, the whole point of the lesson on Saturday is how to debug and evaluate these models. So let me just go here. So you can see in these functions how the model thinks. So show me all the sales for this information. So you can go here and it's just, okay, my first job is to look up information from this Parquet file using SQL. So it's already thinking and took 7.94 seconds to think about what's the next action to do. So then it generated the SQL function, select stores from blah, 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 because it's able to understand that execution. And then the end, it was able to produce this table from the SQL function that was able to respond. So when you asked, show me all the sales, it's able to then produce this table showing you all the sales information. And the whole point of having this set up is to see, okay, did it mess up on the SQL function? No, it's actually when stores 1321. Why did it say 1320? I must go back to a prompt engineering in my tool and find out what's happening. Oh, I messed up on this part. It's not getting the right date. That's because I put it day, month, year format. I need to go back and change my SQL function. When you're evaluating and understanding what needs to happen to these tools, things like Phoenix and Langsmith are sort of playgrounds where you can go in and sort of debug and understand why my model acting this way. What's going on with my model? Is something not right? And this is where you would do this. So again, I just give you a quick tutorial. There's things other questions right now, but again, go back and look at Saturday's classes. I think Saturday's class was really insightful, and I know we go by really fast. So again, take your time, walk through it, try to run the notebooks yourself, and see how well you're able to understand how to do the evaluations.
Okay, thank you.
Where's noise? And some of you had a general question.
Yeah, so like just design our workflow question. Let's say we are part of an endpoint management company. What it does is it manages, let's say Apple or Dell or company, their employees' laptops it maintains. And then its job is if any of the laptops, let's say, get affected by a virus or so, then it has to shut it down. But then before shutting it down, it has to evaluate, is it like someone who is using laptop is in a sales demo, or is a CEO, CFO, or is it real threat? How widespread is? Then it has to decide. So I was just thinking to design something like that. You will have multiple AI agents and an orchestrator and an MCP server will do something like that. So I was thinking that you will have multiple AI agents and then they all communicate through MCP or any other communication mechanism preferred.
Yeah, so there's a lot of moving parts in this, right?
Yep.
So the main part I would say is what are the most important criterias? So if you need to understand where the person, like where the employee lives, or where the employee, who's the main manager, all this, maybe this connects to an HRIS system, which could be from your employee directory, whatever system you guys are using, that can pull all that information in, right? So this would show the employee's address, this would show your employee's manager, this would show the all this information, criteria, etc., etc. Doesn't have to be an MCP, could be an MCP. But if you're just extracting, here's employee ID this, and get employee IDs this information, you can do it directly, or you can do an MCP server. It's up to you. And then you use that criteria to feed to one LLM and say, okay, based off this user has said that they received the virus. Then you need to pull another information in from another area, right? This could be where the MCP tool comes in better. If it's submitted a ticket to saying that they have a virus, they need a new laptop, you then grab that information from an MCP, pull that into your analyzer. So step one, pull the ticket. Step two, pull the employee's information. And step three, generate a ticket, right? So you have three different tools, tool one, tool two, tool three, to then go through the flow and how you would want it to run. And some of them don't have to be agents. Some of them can simply just be a function that you create, generate to extract and Jira ticket, extract information from employee, and then generate ticket. And then you do a JSON schema that way. And then your agent would be able to go 1, 2, 3, boom, and extract that information. So it doesn't have to be multiple five. You don't try to overcomplicate things. Just think of how you do these agents. Just think of a flow. How do you want it to flow? How do you want it to flow? How do you want it to flow? And what's the most simplest way of doing that? Hopefully that
So
could help.
okay,
Yeah.
cool. So then when do you decide between agent versus a simple automation tool?
So you want an agent when you need it to think, and you want it to sort of decide for itself. For example, that talk to your data, right? Give me example. If there's lots of information on a data table, and you're like, I want information about this employee from 2026, and give me what's happening. Right? You want it to, like, when you create an agent, think of it as when you want a BA, just when you want a business analyst, or you want an analyst to be joining you. If you don't need an analyst to do the job, then you don't need an agent. That's how I sort of
Got it. Yeah.
that's how I started doing the criteria. If you don't need something to think about, if you don't need something to do actions for, then you don't need an agent. But if you want something like I actually need something at the end of it to sort of evaluate if it passes through all the criteria, I want an LM as a judge. And then you can make another tool that says like an LM as a judge, and which will then judge everything that's happening and say, no, it's actually something's wrong. Go back and extract that information out. Right? You want something to reason, you want something to look at, you want to build that orchestrator, etc. So, yeah, so that's how I look at it. If it needs to reason and it needs the criteria, that can simply. So again, anything can be done with LLMs, but could it be done simpler?
Mm.
Yes. If it can be done simpler, what's the pros and cons of this? If it can just be a schema validation, if it doesn't have, if it's not a string, pass or not pass. Thing is, you don't you want you like the thing is you have to be very careful again between having AI to be your main contender, because AI still hallucinate to this day. So example, and I may be trailing from here, is that a financial company wanted us to build AI agents, which is fine, but it's like we need to make sure it's rigid, because we need to have it pass this law, it needs to go past this security, it needs to be 100% accurate every single time. So instead of having one agent to go and pull information, we know the LMs are bad, that we have to sort of create 5 separate checkers of agents
Mm.
surrounding one tool, because how bad LLMs hallucinate, in the sense that, okay, I need a verifier to verify that I actually pulled the information right when it created that SQL tool. Then I need a check if if it's not exporting the information where it shouldn't be exporting. I need to do this. So yes, you can do agents, but again, at what cost? Do you want it to be running, and what area? So a lot of these business cases right now are people who want to get into the AI space, and they're willing to spend money to develop these large agents, but they're extremely complex right now. And that's just an example of like it could be done with a simpler flow. It didn't need to have an AI agent, but because they want AI agents and they wanted to be 100% accurate, how much more agents we had to build around it to sort of protect it.
And then how the agents communicate to LLM in this workflow. So, and also how the communication for MCP, like does MCP server talk to LLM or only agents talk to LLM?
So how this works is that there's an orchestrator. So there's one main agent at the top that's receiving the information from all these smaller LLMs that are recording and helping it pass through the flow. So the tool one runs successfully, yes, no. If yes, continue to step 2. If not, continue to step 3. And then it'll analyze it as well. You can have it to analyze the flows of each thing. If it finds that something's wrong, then it'll tell it go back to step 1. This is where you can have an agent sort of reason through it's going through your flow properly. That's how.
So then you'll have, then let's say only orchestrator is talking to LLM, then we have like only one AA agent, right? It is not like we have multiple AA agents. Is it?
So so it depends on what the tools are. Example, like if one of the tools is to generate a SQL query, that's an LLM agent. That's a smaller agent because it's an LLM that needs to generate the SQL
I see.
query.
Okay.
So then has to be another LLM in there. If you want to talk to an MCP server as your tool number 2, we know that the MCPs can have an LLM inside to analyze and generate the context and history. So that's another LLM agent in there, et cetera, et cetera. So then you just keep adding in.
I see. So normally MCP is invoked by the LLM, right? LLM decides which method in the MCP to call.
Correct.
Gotcha.
You
Okay.
don't have to define it. You don't have to say only you, like you don't. So typically, before LLMs, you would have to say, these are the use cases. Use these APIs for this function. Use this APIs for that function. Use this API. Like you would have to define everything. But now with LLMs, you simply make an MCP, list all the tools, what they do, and the LLM will decide which one's the best one.
Perfect. Okay. I think Satya has a question. I will wait.
So, Luis, actually, the tools that you had defined, right? Like the agent users, correct? That could be the MCPs, right?
Yes, yes. So just like how we have here, step one, on this part, let's generate a SQL function. Step two could be get data for MCP, right? Using this MCP server, I extract information from your HRIS system, and it has the following fields.
The thing is, like in the case of like if we define, like I know, like in the case of cursor or anything, right? Like there is a specific way that we define the configure the MCP servers, right? In the case of agents, does the what do you call that the do we have any specific way we should define, or because the one you have is sure, and like I think you took some kind of liberty in defining, like what are the most important parameters that are required for something to be called as a tool, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good question. Let me see if I can find something here um on this side here. I was looking at this morning because you know how ChatGPT, OpenAI made their own agent builder.
Mhm.
Sure you guys have seen that before, but they're building their own agent builder where you can sort of develop and create these agents just using a UI. It's not that easy. For me, it was really, really complicated to sort of
Mhm.
see here, but
Mhm.
let me see if I can find what I was seeing from here. So I was trying to use Tavily. So example, one of the exercises I was trying this morning was to use this conversational to use Tally to search the internet for something. But in order for me to do that, here we go. I need an MCP server.
Mhm.
So I went to Smithery. Remember how we talked about how we went from here, Smithery? I found an MCP server for Tavily, and then I just need a URL. So how do I use this in my functions? So
Mhm.
here they give you an options. Do you want to use this for ChatGPT? Do you want to use this for Python? So then it shows you here's how you would call the function in Python. So you install your MCP CLI, and then you run this function. And here, obviously, you would put your API key for Tavily. Here's your base
Are you
URL.
sharing your screen by any chance?
Can you not see my screen? Well, let me
No.
sure. Sorry. Let me go back. I'll go back to the
Sorry,
top.
that's fine.
So when you go to Tavily, let me
Mhm.
search smithery.ai, because you
Mhm.
can look and see all these different MCPs. Like I want to
Mhm.
add this as a tool. For example,
Mhm.
for I go to Tavily, I search for Tavily on the top. I find that this one has 2.2 thousand versus 476. So I'm going to use this one. And I want to use this as a tool. So there's different ones here. I can use it for Claude. I can use it for ChatGPT, for Cursor. So example like you were saying before, Cursor has its own way to do
Correct.
it. You can click one-click install and it tells you how to install it quickly on your
Mhm.
cursor. But if let's say
Mhm.
you're doing this on Google Colab and you want to do
Mhm.
just Python function, you click the Python
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it'll show you how to call it as a tool function
Ah, nice.
in
Okay.
the end. So all you do is copy this in, go to your
Uh-huh.
tools, and then you say this is how you would call this MCP server in. And
Ah,
you take
okay.
your IP key with your API key that you have.
Mhm.
And the most important part is this base URL, because that's again the MCP/MCP at the very top.
Mhm.
This is how you connect to it.
Mhm.
So again, you're putting this as a tool, you're putting that in there and you're making it run.
Mhm.
So MCP servers can be easily integrated as tool flows.
Yeah, okay.
I know it's a lot of consume. It's a big, like again, AI is its own discipline, right? So
Right, absolutely. Yeah. There is
yeah,
so much of blurring of lines between the agents and tools, and like depending on how or where you see from, right?
yeah.
Yeah, like yeah.
I think my boss said it right to me one time. He's like, if you squint hard enough, anything's agentic.
Right,
So,
exactly. Right. Yeah.
so example, RAG, we know RAG is just a RAG, but what is it? What are you doing? You're fetching embeddings and giving it to an
Mhm.
LLM. That's
Mhm.
action. So technically agents is doing action. So
Right. Yeah.
is it agentic now? Yeah, I don't know. So it's interesting. This year is the year of agents in the
Mhm.
sense that you would think that these LLMs would be smarter and become smart agents. No, it's actually people building out frameworks that the agents can be built on and used to be more effective.
Hmm.
This is what's happening this year. I'm noticing OpenAI released theirs. Agentforce, is full force on that one. All these different areas are trying to build, and Amazon AWS is building their own Amazon Bedrock framework for agents. Amazon, Microsoft just released their new agent framework. So everyone's building out these frameworks because they know that it's not right now, it's not the LLM that's sort of guiding it from point A to point B. It's having a good framework for the LLM to follow. So why
Right.
so why are these big players building this out? Because of
Mhm.
one thing. And I'll show you what it is. It's because they're all scared of this one player. Um, and it's this guy, LangGraph.
Okay.
And they're worried about LangGraph because LangGraph is open source.
Hmm.
LangGraph was the first model that built a strong framework that
Mhm.
that was built for multi-agentic work where you have a supervisor, smaller agents working with
Hmm.
them. So then
Hmm.
they're like, oh, yeah, you can build LangGraph for free, or you could do it for $300,000 with us.
Right.
So they want to sort of push you away from that, but be careful of vendor lock-in. That's all I'll have to say.
Right. Thanks, Luis.
No worries. 'Cause I can talk about AI for hours, but
Right. Actually, like we went in one direction before these MCP tools. Now there is a huge influx of MCP tools, and what was something too verbose or like something at that point, some point in time, right? Now it is getting too small, and I don't know. People are decomposing too much. Um. Uh. Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to find a meme where it says people building MCPs and there's like 1,000 people and the people
Mhm.
actually using MCPs. This is it, like building MCPs and then people are actually using MCPs and it shows like very few.
Right.
So that's pretty much what's happening right now in the moon because everyone's like, "Oh, I built an MCP server." Like, okay, but who uses it?
Right. Yeah.
So it's very right now very interesting on that side. Just like I don't know, just like before, a lot of people didn't rate. I'm a data scientist because to them they're like, oh, I don't know much about machine learning. I don't know much about this. I don't know much about that. But soon as like they saw ChatGPT, like, oh, this is AI. Oh, I know AI, and then everyone became a AI advocate. That's that's my little rant from there.
Yeah.
But you guys now have a lot more knowledge from these courses that a lot of people don't have. 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
Luis, one quick thing before actually, um, I'm sure maybe you have covered this. Is there some slide, like where you can distinguish between what is an agent, what is not, what is an MCP tool, what is not, those kind of things? Do you have it? Do you had it actually?
I don't have something like that, but I can make something up for Saturday that can
Yeah,
go.
that will be super helpful, Luis.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah.
This Saturday, I'm thinking of so Databricks has given a free environment. So I'm thinking of showing everyone how you can deploy a model using an API in Databricks for free. How you can start using productionalized tools from there. So that's really my main goal for Saturday. But I'm gonna check this weekend if it's available. If it's not, then I'll probably make some other rules. But I think that's the most thing is how to make productionalized AI systems rather than having it in Google and how to actually make some endpoints for it to be used. So again, this when you become an AI engineer, it's not about, hey, can I build an AI agent? Now it's like, okay, but how can I make it readable that other people can use? So you need to make you need to make the AI into an endpoint which they can receive and retrieve traffic. And that endpoint, where does that get deployed? How does that get tracked? How do you keep privacy for that endpoint? Where does it go? How do you communicate? You need a front end that receives the endpoint and then is able to have that conversation. So there's a lot more complexities when you start building out these AI models for production. And that's definitely something I wanted to talk about on Saturday from there. Okay, awesome. I hope you're enjoying the course, guys, and it's great that I can have this time to talk with you guys and understand a little bit more.
And also,
Thanks.
Luis, still this ML model training and is all still going on with all the so much advanced with LLMs. Let's
So
say,
yeah, so Serinivas was supposed to look about that because I think that was supposed to be he was supposed to look into that part, but I haven't honestly. I think Srinivas got a new job and he's been super busy, so he hasn't gotten back to me about the machine learning courses. But that was something that I said that we can definitely go down that route if needs
So,
be.
sorry, the question is about machine learning for kids.
Yes, is it machine for kids or?
actually, my question is a bit different. Like in the sense, with so much in advanced AI coming, still people are doing machine learning model training and all that happening manually. Data science used to do in the past. Did it change, or it is still same as before?
That's a good question. So machine learning will not change from AI. And this is something that executives haven't caught the grasp of, in the sense that an LM model will not be able to do a decision tree on millions of rows of data and use statistical methods to evaluate, extract, and develop an algorithm that's going to be able to extract information out. It's not. But what are people doing? Google just made something up called your AI data scientist, which is going to go look at a data set and try to copy what a data scientist is trying to do. They wanted to go clean the data, understand the data, use statistical means to evaluate, do your cross-train folds, evaluating, doing hyperparameter tuning to decide which model is best. They're trying to make an AI become a data scientist by using the existing packages that are out there today. So yes, AI is going to help push a lot of people out that door, but again, what's really the difference between an AI data scientist or data scientist versus AI is a data scientist's job is not actually building the LM model, building your machine learning models. 60%, 70% of the machine learning job is cleaning up your data and doing feature engineering and being creative, extracting top features from your data in order to be interpretable by these machines. So as much as Google's trying to develop these data scientists, as much as they have to know there is a restriction that only comes from a top skill set, from education, from a statistics background, and from experience that these LLMs won't have. So yes, you can have maybe junior types of data scientist AIs, but it won't be as good as someone who's experienced, who knows how to manipulate the data well to get you great results. That's my little rant from
No,
there.
perfect. No, definitely. That completely makes sense. And then, yeah, now curious about that kids ML machine learning thing. Maybe you guys have any idea when it will come back, or if we have enough interest, anything like that?
Manoj, I'll leave that to you if you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, the question was again for
Kids machine learning. Yeah.
yeah. So last time when we asked for it, there was less than like 5 people or 6 people who signed up for it. So I think unless we have more than 10 or 15 kids, we will not be going back again. We can definitely circle back and ask if anybody is interested. But yeah, I think last time we did not get enough traction, or number of kids who were interested was less than 10. So it was around 7 or 8 kids who signed up. So we could not take it for that less number of kids.
Gotcha. Maybe we could add some AI and ML together. Maybe.
I think that was part of it. It was AI/ML for kids. It was like a 8-week course, something like that, which was scheduled. We wanted to do summer thing. Summer thing did not work out. Then we said post summer we'll try something, but there was very little interest shown, so we did not proceed after that. But I'll check with officers if we want to try that again, we can give it a shot. But unless we get at least 10 people, I don't think we'll be able to proceed with that course.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, again, it comes down to my time. That there's only 5 people, and I'm building 2 hours and putting a lot of effort.
Definitely, yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, and also, thank you for being so busy. I wonder how you manage time to teach us as well. Thank you so much for it, and
Yes.
very helpful to hear someone who actually uses and does things.
No worries, guys. It's great for you guys being on here, and it's always a pleasure to be teaching you guys. You guys are patient, and the most important part is engaged. If you weren't engaged, then I'm like, okay, what am I teaching a class to anyone who just want to know and they don't want to practice, right? So that's the whole point.
Okay.
Okay, awesome, guys. I gotta jump out right now, but I'll see
Thanks,
you guys
Luis.
on Saturday, and hopefully we'll go from there.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, bye everyone.
Thanks, Luis.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.